Hello and welcome to this workshop. My name is Mark Snyder and I'm the developer of the software app that I'm going to show you called Worshipsong Band. I want to thank Pastor Kenny Lamb for giving me this opportunity to talk to you about this software, to give you an introduction to it, to show you some of the things that it can do, and just to chat with you and give you some ideas of the things you can do. And you can see on that slide with the bullets, those are some of the things that you can do with this software application. I'm not going to videotape myself doing this seminar, mainly because I'm going to be pretty busy working the slides, working the software. There is a picture of me on one of the slides. You can see what I look like. Trust me, you're not missing much with that. And I'm just going to try to picture that you're there and try to anticipate what your questions might be and go through this software. So this is a little bit of what we're going to cover. We're going to cover just introduce you to the software application. We're going to talk about using it for its primary purpose, which you could say is enhancing live performance, even though it can be used for a lot of things. That's kind of the primary thing you're going to do with it. We're going to talk about how you get content, either your own content or places that you can buy content for Worshipsong Band, and I'm going to go through a little bit of kind of some business model discussion about that. Um, in lesson 4 and 5, we're going to get into some advanced uses of Worshipsong Band, including automation, um, including like a networking feature we have, so your entire band can use the application. So let's dive into introducing Worshipsong Band. So first and foremost, Worshipsong Band is a ministry of worshipsong.com. Worshipsong.com is a website that was founded by Holland Davis. You can see his picture up there. You may know him as the writer of the worship song called Let It Rise. So Holland Davis founded worshipsong.com as a way to support churches and independent artists getting their music out to um, just different churches, a way for churches to share music. It's kind of a crowdsourced worship song site. There's a lot of good stuff on there. I urge you to check it out. The software app itself was developed by me. So as I said, my name is Mark Snyder. Um, I make my living as a software engineer in the aerospace industry. So Worship Song Band is kind of a project that I've done over the years. We've had the app out for about 7 years now, I think. And over the years, working with this app and working with user groups, it's grown to do like a lot of different things. So you'll see some screenshots, like the screenshot up there, and that a banner ad that we have is actually an earlier version of the app. So what you're going to see is kind of the latest and greatest version. And I make this app as a freeware kind of application. There are a lot of engineers in the world who do freeware applications for different things, and you can find a ton of great freeware. It's a way that engineers kind of give back sometimes, and so Worship Song Band is my way to do that. So that's why I do it. That's why I've been doing it for so many years. So it is a freeware application. It's free on any platform that you're going to get it. We don't actually take any money for Worship Song Bands as an app. There are a couple of variant apps that we've done for people that help kind of monetize our website a little bit. But this everything you see here is basically free for you to use. Um, as I said, Worship Song is a place where you can go to get a lot of tracks. So there's over 70 completely free multi-track sets on our site that you can use in the app. Um, so one of the tenets of Worship Song Band is that it's not a cloud-based application. There are some things you do with the cloud or can do with the cloud with it, but we don't store music in the cloud that is used in the app except for you to download it. But once you get music down, the app is stored on the the music is stored on the local device, and we're going to go over how that part works. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One of the big reasons is we never want you to lose your content because you either didn't maintain access to our cloud or you don't have access to our cloud or whatever. We want your content in the app to be yours. And so that's one of the main reasons why this doesn't work like some of the other cloud-based apps that are out there. And there are some advantages, there's a few disadvantages to that, but overall we think it's the best way. We're going to talk about how to download and install Worshipsong Band. And the way the to get Worshipsong Band, basically, there's a page on the website called Get Worshipsong Band where you can download the Mac and PC versions. I'm going to show the browser right here. Um, just a minute here. Um, so on our website, you go to Get Worshipsong Band, and then these are your download links for Windows and Mac OS. There's also a download link to an APK for Android there. Um, you can also get the app on the Apple App Store. It is only available for iPad because the UI is not really suitable for phones, even though you can use it on like Android phones. It's really a little small to use on phones, so we make it iPad only. And also on the Google Play Store where you can get it for Android tablets, Android phones, and you can also use it on Chromebooks by installing it as an Android app on a Chromebook. So those are the different places where you can get the application. The latest version you'll find is 6.3.4. Um, we don't really support older versions in terms of letting you download and use older versions. We keep kind of an app store model where basically you always get the latest version and it's always backward compatible. So we're always going to tell you to use the latest version if you're trying to do something and the app doesn't work or whatever. We're going to say get the latest version because it's a lot easier to do that, and that's how app stores work. And so we work very much in the same manner. And like I said before, it's always free. Okay, so now I'm going to switch over to the Worshipsong Band app. Okay, so I'm going to keep the PowerPoint up here in the corner, and then I'm going to have the app down here. So that's how I'm going to do this. So I'm going to give you a little tour of the user interface of Worshipsong Band. The first page you see in Worshipsong Band when you launch it is this help page. On this help page, basically you have um, primary settings over here for the app, and we'll go through different ones as we go. And then here, if you click this, you're going to see a lot of different kind of built-in help topics. So this is going to tell you about managing your library. This is going to tell you about audio outputs and so on. In this help, there are links, and these links will take you to different things. Like some of these links will take you to track providers. Some of these links will take you to help topics of different things that generally link to our website or maybe to a YouTube video. And so this is just one way to get help, is using that. I'll kind of come back to the settings because we can dive into that, and I'll just go to the next kind of most important page, which is this library page. And so this library page basically shows you all of the songs that are installed in the Worshipsong Band app. So these basically these songs are installed in a folder in your application, and as zipped audio content. And we'll go over how they're packaged up later. But this library page basically is where you can access any of the songs in your library. If you click one of these songs, you see that you get a listing of who made the song, the key, the tempo, a little bit about how many tracks, and then the song provider, if they want, can put in some stuff here, like to tell you a little bit about the track or whatever. Then this button is used to add it to a set. This button is used to just show the song in the mixer window, which I'm going to show you next. And then this immediately loads and plays the song. So it's like a shortcut to just play the song. This bar over on the right-hand side here, this is your set list. If you click it, it pops out. These are the songs that are currently loaded in the set. If you don't hover over it, it goes away. So I'm using this application right now with a mouse and keyboard on my PC, but you can also use the application as using a touch screen, and the operation is identical. So the operation of the application on any platform is exactly the same. The way the user interface works, the only difference is on some platforms they don't support, for instance, the video lyrics, or as an example, like those aren't supported on iPad or Android. But the operation is always the same, so it just operates with a touch. And then I'll also show you how to operate with a Midi controller later on. So that's the library page very quickly. Next, I'm going to show you the mixer view. So this is the mixer view of the app. And so the mixer view is basically where it shows you the multi-tracks for your app. So what our app primarily and fundamentally is a multi-track playback application. So it's used to play back a set of up to 16 multi-track applications, which are basically individual stems of an application of a song. And then you can control the volume of these stems differently in different ways. And so as an example here, I've got a hymn from Reawaken Hymns, who's one of our providers, Be Thou My Vision. And so I'll just play this back here. So you can basically mute and change the volume of each track individually. And again, when we go through the live playback use, I'll show you exactly how this application works. The other thing on the mixer view, or kind of this player view, is this chords view. And so the way the chord view basically works is that the chords follow along with the music. So if I go to verse 3 here, so I'll scroll to the end here and you'll see how the music follows along.
Intro, 2, 3. Verse, 2, 3.
So what I did there, just to give you a little preview, is I looped back to the verse 2 after that, just to show you how the chord chart followed along. Here's one of the first tenets I want you to remember about Worshipsong Band, is that you don't have to use every single feature that it has just because it's there. It will also do lyric display along with the chord display, along with the mixer. There's a ton of stuff that you can do with it, but you really can use it in some ways that are just what you're comfortable with or what you want to break in with. So you don't have to use every single feature that it has. I will say that if you do use every single feature that it has, and you get good at setting it up and manipulating it, what you'll find is that it will basically save you a lot of time and potentially a lot of um, effort. If you don't have volunteers, for instance, to run your slides, it will run your slides for you through the automation, as an example. We have pastors who don't even have a slide operator, and they run their entire worship service using Worshipsong Band. We have people who use the built-in chords for their entire band, and then they don't have to mess around with chord sheets or on song or anything like that. They can just use this app. So it can be used for all that stuff, but it doesn't have to be used for all that stuff. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind as I'm showing you everything. It can be used in parts, and you don't have to use everything. Um, so that's really a brief UI tour, just to give you an idea of what the UI looks like, the user interface. There are controls down here for tempo, for key, for capoing, for pads here. So and when we go into live performance, we're going to show you a lot more of how to use those things. And so that's actually a good segue. This is the live performance section. And um, so what I'm going to talk to you about is kind of the song timeline and controls, which is sort of how you navigate through a song and uh, can use it in different ways to kind of go through a song. A mixer and audio, I'm going to go through in a little more depth about that. Um, Pads and transitions. We're going to talk about how you can use pads to link songs together or just use pads if you want. And also a couple of other kind of ways that you can do things like bumper music. I think actually we'll save that part for the end. And set list. I'm going to go into kind of the set list and how it works, and a little bit about how you use set lists to kind of create a presentation for your for your congregation. Okay, so the song timeline and controls. So basically, it works kind of like a big MP3 player, if you want to think about it that way. The song timeline is basically the sections of the song set up as originally imported by the person who did the song import, and so they've divided the song into sections that basically correspond with the musical sections of the song. So this song is basically a count in of so many beats, a intro section, a verse section, an intro, and so on. And I'm going to hit T on my keyboard here to switch the view to beats. This is another kind of tenet that I want you to remember of Worshipsong Band. It's much easier to work in beats rather than time. And what I mean by that is when you're setting up a song, you're going to see that the beats always follow like on fixed increments. Basically, this one actually they usually almost fall on increments of 8 beats. This particular case, they're a little bit different, but so bead counts are kind of your friends. So so from intro, which verse 1 starts at 18, that starts at 63. So that's however many beats that is for that verse, basically. So this is the layout of the song from the count in to the ending. And so as I hit play here, so this button is used to play the song, basically. You can hear the
Intro,
count
2,
in.
3. Verse, 2, 3.
There's a little meter here that shows you the level of each thing. So that's the level of the metronome there. The metronome and cues can be set up like this song is, so that they are kind of automatically generated by Worshipsong Band. And so basically, if your audio does not have a click track mapped, it will generate a metronome in the tempo that you give the song, basically. And similarly, if there are no cues, then you can turn on kind of these built-in cues in this band mix window here. And so the cues will follow. And so what's nice about that is you'll hear, as an example, when I jump around the song, it will follow like it's supposed to. And actually, a hymn isn't the greatest thing to show this because it's always verse, intro, verse, intro. So I'll kind of go to another song here just to show you what I mean. So this song goes from like verse to pre-chorus. So as I say here,
flow, blessed be your name.
Verse 2, 3, 4.
And blessed.
So you heard how the cue there went to verse, but if I change the order of the song,
Abundance flow, blessed be your name.
Pre-chorus 2, 3, 4.
And every blessing you.
So what I did there, I did a couple things that I'll describe in a little more detail. I changed the order of the song, and the cues followed me along, so that I didn't have to, so that the band knew what was coming up. So and so that's kind of the second function of this song timeline here that I'm showing you, is that the song timeline is used to control how you go through the song. So, and I just kind of showed you that. So like if I come to the end of this verse
Flow, blessed be your name.
and I click here,
Verse
I'll
2,
loop back
3,
on that
4.
verse.
Blessed be your name.
So it always goes to whatever you click
that
next.
is plentiful.
So I'll jump to this
Where your
pre-chorus next.
streams of abundance flow. Blessed be your name.
Pre-chorus 2, 3, 4.
And every blessing you pour out.
So you can hear there that it went to the second pre-chorus, which has a lot more musical intensity. So the song timeline is used to jump around the song or to loop the song, those kind of things. Also, if you right-click or long press on a tablet, there's menus that pop up on the song timeline, and those are for different things. So I'm going to go through those in more detail in the automation section, but so basically that's just how you get to different parts of the song. And so the song, that's what the song timeline does. The mixer and audio, I showed you a little bit of this before. You use it to mix your audio or to mute and solo. So like,
Turn back to praise. And when the darkness closes in, Lord.
Chorus 2, 3, 4.
Name of the Lord.
so those work kind of like you would expect. There's another feature called presets, which I'll talk a little more about in the automation section, but basically it's a way to set preset mixes and have them be taken at different times. So you have a lot of control of the dynamics using this. So as an example, let's say after this chorus here, you wanted to go to a speaking section.
The Lord, blessed be your glorious name.
Instrumental.
Okay, so there's really nothing in the song but the click right now. So now I'm talking to you, I've interrupted the song, and I can do a prayer or whatever right here. And the click goes on, so the band is going to come back in. And then what I can do when I get to the point when I come back in, I can cue that instrumental right
Instrumental
there.
3, 4.
and it'll come back in. So the song timeline can be used for like controlling your your flow through the song like that.
Bridge 2.
Sorry, and then I talked a little bit about mixer and audio. So set list. So this, like I said before, this is your set list. It's drag and drop. So if you want to change the order of the songs in your set, you can just drag them around. If you want to remove something from the set, you can just click it and say delete. If you want to immediately go to a song in the set, you can just click show and you'll go to that song. So that's how that works. There's also saved set list menu here. So let me talk a little bit about what is in the set and what is in the song. So the song is all of this layout of the music, the chord chart, the list of tracks, um, and the key and those kind of things. Those are what's in the song. What's in the set are the level of your audio, um, any automation that you add, which we'll go into a little bit later, are in the set. The order of the songs that they're going to be played is in the set. The key, so as an example here, let's just go to this Be Thou My Vision hymn again. And let's just say I wanted to speed it up. These vocals are going to sound a little funny, but okay, so I'm gonna speed it up to 90 and I'll mute the vocals because that's going to sound weird. So okay, so I changed it to 90. I can also, let's go up to F. So you heard that was higher. So if you click this reset mix, it's going to go back to what it should have been. Not the key, but it'll reset the mix. So you can always switch keys with this little button over here. And so the key and the tempo are also part of the set. So like you can have the same song in different keys or whatever. And there's two kinds of key change in Worshipsong Band, and I'm only showing you one right now, which is the kind of automated pitch shift key change. And there's another one, which is a high quality one, which I don't know if we'll get to in this video, but it can also shift way more semitones if you want to do that. So the last thing I'll talk about a little bit is pads and transitions. Okay, so these controls here and this are the control for the pads. So if I click this, basically, I can have sets of pads loaded in Worshipsong Band. So I've got these Exeter pads from this Rocky Mountain Sounds guy up in Canada who makes these really good pads. And so this control here is going to fade in a pad. Okay, so that pad is going to play at the same time as the music. So I'm going to play this hymn now with the pad. So you can hear can hear how the pad enhances the music, and you'll also notice when I stop the song, the pad kept going. And that's because these pads they're designed to be played under the song, and they're also designed to be played between songs. So in the automation section, I'm going to show you how you program these pads. But if I just leave the pad going, so let's say I just did the end of the song like this. I guess there's nothing there to hear. So hear how the pad just keeps going even though the audio fell out. And then at the end of the song, it's going to automatically load the next song, which happens to also be in D. But if it wasn't, you could crossfade to a new pad here. So let's say, let's go to, we'll just kind of go to this song instead. That's an E. So I could basically hit this button here, this crossfade button. And then I'll start this song.
Verse 2, 3, 4.
Blessed be your name in the land that is plentiful.
And then when you're ready to get rid of the pad, you just hit the red button there, and the pad fades out. And
Verse 2, 3,
you can
4.
program that to happen automatically, or you can do it with the controls like I just showed you. And also, if you just want to kind of play pads, you can do that. So let's start the pads up again. And so let's just play around with the progression here. So I can just go like, so I'm just switching basically between the chords in the key. So if I just follow along with like the C sharp minor. And pads may or may not have minor keys in them. If not, you'll just get the relative major key. And so that's kind of one of the third things I wanted to stress about using Worshipsong Band, and that's this. It has built-in capabilities that will do a lot of what a lot of other little apps will do, but it does them in an integrated way. So what I just showed you there is something similar to what you'd be able to do with like a dedicated pad app on a phone or something, but it's built in and integrated with the rest of the application. So that's one thing to keep in mind, is if you can use it for those things, you might try using the capabilities that it has first before trying to work another app with it, because you'll make your life more complex if you do that. The last thing on this section about enhancing your live performance is just a little bit about audio output. So I've been running the application here in kind of full screen, or in a default stereo split mode, I mean. And what I mean by that is that I'm basically running click and cue to one side and the tracks to the other side. And when I do that, I can also have this band mix where I can add some of the click and cue into I could add some of the audio into the click and cue side, so my band could potentially hear that. So like you can put a little vocal in your vocalist ear, and they're in the click and cue side if you want. There's also basically a multi-channel output mode, and that is found over here on the audio settings page. And the multi-channel output mode will let you assign up to 16 channels out of audio, and you can basically assign your stems by name to channels, and then whenever a song loads up with stems named that, they'll get routed to that channel. And so that's basically a way to drive you know a bunch of different outputs separately instead of running them all into two channels, which is what a lot of churches do. So another aspect of live performance is controlling your tracks without using the touch screen, controlling them from a foot pedal. So on the settings screen, this is the pedal control screen. And if you look at it, there's a lot of actions. Let me hide the PowerPoint. These are the kind of actions you can do. And then you can pop up a menu here to pick different actions to assign to either button presses or MIDI commands and MIDI channels over here. And so you can see more about that on the website. The other thing that I've done is I've shown pictures of different MIDI controllers that you can get. Some of this is on the gear page on our website. There's actually some really nicely priced controllers that you can get, spending about $100 for like 6 MIDI commands that you can, or 6 different buttons that you can use as a controller. So it can be used to control almost anything. It's very simple to use. So next I want to talk about content. Content is very interesting because as you know, Worshipsong Band is an open content application. What that means is that all of the audio is just in regular old zip files, which is a standard way for distributing stuff on the internet. And then the chord charts and all the other information that make up the song, like the section head, the section markers, and the key information, and so on, is all just stored in a text file inside that zip file. So that basically means anybody can make content for the app, including you, if you want. And so we have a network of content providers that have kind of signed on to the platform over the years. They usually offer really good prices. Some of the bigger ones are Worship Backing Band, which is a company out of the UK. They have several. They have about 300 songs that are in the format of the app, basically. Then there's also a company called Guide Tracks, which is they have about 150 songs that are for the app. They're pushing on 200. And the kind of prices you're talking about, Worship Backing Band for like a single track is like $15. For a group of like a bundles, they get to about $10 each. Guide tracks, they're about $8 to $10. Worship Tracks Live is a new provider we have, and they're actually selling their tracks for like $3 a piece right now, currently. Um, and the one thing I want you to remember about tracks is since we don't really make any money on the tracks when people buy them, or when you buy tracks, we don't make any money on them. We like to promote a micro business model where that we leave it up to the providers to make the tracks. We'll leave it up to them to license the tracks. And then when you buy a track from them, they keep 100% of that money. And that enables them to run their business and to make a little bit of a living off that. If you actually dig into some of the other content provider networks that are out there, you'll see that the producers for those tracks, they make like maybe 20% of the value of the track is what they end up taking down. So that's just not really a great business deal for them. So we like to offer that micro entrepreneurship model instead. So um, and and the other thing I want you to remember is that compare when you're considering buying tracks, compare your kind of your business model for that as a church. So what I mean by that is if you buy into a platform where you're essentially renting tracks or you're buying tracks that can only be used on a certain platform, if you ever switch from that platform, you're out whatever you put in for those tracks, or you have to pay a lot of money to buy different versions or whatever. The Worshipsong Band, any of these tracks, they're just open format audio files. They're OGG files, which are a standard format that you can use in any DAW. So consider your track investment when you're looking at multi-track solutions. Um, Again, so this is a little bit of an example of how our song importer works. You can import any track you want into Worshipsong Band. The PC and Mac versions of the app have a song importer built right in. And so basically you can buy, if you want to buy tracks from like multitracks.com or Loop Community or any of those guys that offer them in like WAV formats, you can buy those from them and then you can use this importer to use them in the app. There's an integrated song editor. I'll just show you a little bit of that as we go here because we're running a little bit short on time, but there's an integrated song editor and there's a nice long video on the website which you can follow that shows you exactly how to import tracks. There's also a high quality key change filter built into feature built into the app that basically will let you take any track and convert it to another key. There's a couple videos on how to do that as well. And again, like I said, it's all human readable files. So the process basically looks like this here. You start with audio tracks, MP3 or WAV. You zip them up into a zip file. You drop them on the app, and then you edit them from there. These are the steps basically in kind of a flow chart kind of form. So basically, it looks just like this. I won't actually do this in the app because of time, but this is essentially how the process works. You would drop your zip file on. It'll find all of the audio files in there, and you select the name that you want that file to be. So like if it's an acoustic guitar, you would select AG. If it's bass, you would select bass, and so on. Um, and then if you want to merge tracks here, like if you have 20 files and you want to get them down to 15, which is 15 is the max that the app can take, actually 16, then you could like name 3 guitar tracks, EG, and it would bounce them all into a single track. So that's basically, it'll combine them for you. And then uh, the converter is basically built in. You'll see the converter run and convert all the tracks for you. And then you'll have a song in your library, basically with no sections that you can use. Then you'll go in and map the song sections, and there's a little editor here where you can basically name your sections and then uh, type in how many beats for each section. And so you're just kind of making your sections on that timeline I showed you earlier. And then finally, if you want chords or lyrics, you can press E, which is the edit key, and the song editor will come up, and then you're basically editing the text file for the song right inside the app, and you can type in your chord chart. You can make changes to the file format because the file format is actually text, and all this editor does is help you to edit the text more easily. And once you've done those processes, basically your song is ready to use in the app. Okay, so that's a little bit about content. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about automation. So for this, I'm actually going to switch back to the application. Okay, so you can see it here. And so one of the things that the app has is built-in lyric display. If you look on the settings here, you can see information about the lyric display setting. So I have the lyric display turned off here. I can also turn it on if I want. I won't do it right now, but you can do that. Um, there's this thing called overlays from songs, which is a way to overlay like scores on top of lyrics, which is kind of an advanced feature that's just kind of coming out. Um, these are basically settings for font sizes and so on. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to one of these songs. I'm going to show it here. I'm going to press L to show the lyric display. Okay, there's the lyric display. It's down in the corner there. I'm going to press F so you can see it a little bit bigger. It's kind of trunked off because this window is a strange size, but that's the lyric display. I'll make it more reasonable size here. There we go. Okay, so the lyrics follow along with the song sections. So as I go through the song, the lyrics follow here. So you'll see here as I go through this instrumental.
Verse 2, 3.
Okay, so the lyrics follow along. So if you jump, they do the right thing. So if I go into verse 3 here.
2, 3.
You'll notice how the lyrics led the the section a little bit. You can program that in the text file for the song. So basically, if you look at the settings here, this gives you an idea of some of the things you can do with the lyrics. That you can go to an all cap font. You can go back to a mixed font. You can make them at the top, at the bottom, centered. You can change to different background types here. No background, transparent background, black background. So there's a few things in here. I mean, you can also change to a couple different fonts. This is like a Franklin font, which is kind of a nice tall font. Looks nice in all caps. So if you like that kind of look, so on. And then there's also an alternate lyric, which can do like a second language, which I won't go into. And then you can also change backgrounds to fixed backgrounds here. So that's a green screen in case you're doing something like NDI. Or you can also take like video backgrounds here. So I'll take like this background. So you can go to that if you want. And so the video backgrounds only work on the PC and the Mac. So that's a little bit about the lyric display. It's no per presenter, but this is one of those features that if you are able to use it and you want to set those up, which they're really easy to do, it's just built into the chord chart. The lyric flow is just kind of automatically there when you set up the chord chart. Then you can reap some really big advantages because you can get away, for instance, with not actually needing much in the way of, like we have pastors who run all their lyrics with just Worshipsong Band. Okay. Next thing I'll talk about is this automation menu here. Basically, the automation menu lets you add actions anywhere in the song. It can include MIDI out. You can control song flow that way. And it's accessible basically right from the song timeline. It's under section actions here is where it is. You just click plus and then you can pick out, I want to fade in pads, fade out pads, set a MIDI command, start the next song now, fade out and stop, fade the tracks like I showed you before if you're going to do a speaking part, change your lyrics styles and so on. And there's also basically a a set preset, basically. The presets are basically preset mixes that are set up to um, like you can have an acoustic mix or something like that. I think one of these songs has some setup, so I can show you real quick. I'll go to this song. So there are some preset mixes on here. So like I can click unplugged and go to a different mix. I can go extra drums and go to a different mix, etc. And you can take those on a section action. So I could say in the chorus, I want to set preset. The one I want is unplugged, and I want it to happen at 0 beats after the start of the section. You can also do some song jumping kind of actions like a cue jump down here, and that would let you like set up to loop through the song in different ways. There are other videos on this stuff, so I won't kind of belabor it right now because I'm running short on time. But that's a little example of the automation, and this automation is stored as part of the set. So if you have a different set with a different order, or the same song with a different order, you can do that by having that automation stored in there. So it's pretty powerful. It can start to rival tools like Ableton for your ability to do MIDI out and to cue things and follow things if you really get into it. It's not Ableton, but it can start to kind of go in that direction at least, and you can do a lot with it. Okay, and I showed you a little bit of this, the song timeline, just a few keys about that. Click any section when the song is not playing to move around the timeline. I showed you how this worked here. Everything is referenced in beats, like I told you before. That's the easiest way to do it. And then the section map is what governs the automation. So you can always kind of refer to this PowerPoint and play around with that to do different things. Okay, the final thing that I'll cover really quick, and this is actually covered really well on the website, is network mode. So network mode basically is a way that the user interface for Worshipsong Band can be shared across a wireless network. It's not screen replication, it's more sophisticated than that. It basically is a second copy of the app running on different devices that where the commands that you make in that copy of the app control the main copy of the app. And so what that really lets you do is you can set up like in the back of your church, like in your sound booth, you can set up a Mac or a PC with your lyric output tied to like multi-channels like I showed you before with all of your music right on there. And then you can use wireless network. You can have other copies of the app running on like an iPad, an Android tablet, a phablet or big phone or something like that. And those can be used to basically control the app. So like if you press start on your tablet, it'll start the tracks. If you jump on your tablet, the main one will jump. So basically it's running in like a master slave mode. And so that's a pretty powerful way to set up. It's going to save you some wire runs. It's going to basically let you use one big computer for the power, and then these mobile devices for other things. The networking steps basically look like this. You connect everything to a router, like a shared router. You set up your clients to find the master. You might not have to use this fixed IP setting. Then you load your set onto your master, so your master holds the set, and then you're going to control that from your client application, basically. And again, there's more detail on the website for all this stuff. Lots of other uses for the app. You can give it to your team. They can use it for rehearsal. There's a live streaming. You can basically set up a second copy of Worshipsong Band in network mode to display lyrics and use a green screen and feed that into something like OBS. So this is one of our pastors, Les Jones, who's one of my longest serving users. He's doing his live stream and using Worshipsong Band to be his overlay. So he basically does that all without a live stream operator or anything. It's just him and his wife, and nobody in their sound booth, basically. Announcements and sermon slides. There's a way to embed like images inside the song, so you can kind of use it for sermons. You can use it for different things. You can do bumper music. Um, and then there's these things called atmospheres, which are tracks that are used to offer like they can run for like 60 minutes and play in any key and loop back on themselves. So there's a lot of little I don't want to say niche things, just stuff we've put in over the years that will help you if you really get into it. Okay, so that's it. I think I am about out of time. I might actually have to trim some in editing on this, but um, for more info, like I showed you, there's the built-in help. Our website has a whole series of web pages dedicated to the app. There is a Facebook user group that is pretty active where track providers and other people that are there, and people try to help each other, and we respond to chat on that group. And then you may also email us using the form on our website, and we try to answer. So I can say that this app has been on the market now, so to speak, for 7 years. It's gotten pretty mature. Um, and even though we've got, I know at least 3, 4,000 users all over the world for this app. We actually don't get that much calls for technical support. I don't know if that's because people think it's free and they shouldn't ask. I tend to hope it's not that. I tend to hope instead maybe it's that it's really stable and people just get on and do very well. But in either case, we want you to succeed with it. So, please be in contact, show us what you're doing, and let us know if this works in your church.